I don't think that as far as the aim which the proletariat proposes for itself in leading a class struggle is concerned. It would be sufficient to say that it is in itself a greater justice. It seems to me that the idea of justice in itself is an idea which in effect has been invented and put to work in different types of societies as an instrument of a certain political and economic power, or as a weapon against that power. But it seems to me that in any case the notion of justice itself functions within a society of classes.
Abstracting away from a lot of historical problems, that's what faced the soldiers who were massacring each other in the trenches of the First World War! And in that kind of circumstance, no questions of justice arise! And of course, there were rational people, most of them in jail, like Carl Lincoln, for example, who pointed out that they were in jail because they did so. Or Bertrand Russell. You should extract yourself from a struggle. Give an argument that the social revolution you're trying to achieve is the ends of justice and is the ends of realizing fundamental human rights and needs, not merely the ends of putting some other group of power because they want it.
Do I have time to answer?
Yes.
How much? Because...
2 minutes.
But I would say that is unjust.
Absolutely, yes!
No. But I don't want to answer in so little time. I would simply say this. You cannot prevent me from believing that these notions of human nature, of injustice, of the realization of the essence of human beings are all notions and concepts which have been formed within our civilization, within our type of knowledge and our form of philosophy, and that as a result form of part of our class system. And one cannot, however regrettable it may be, put forward these notions to describe or to justify a fight which should and shall in principle overthrow the very fundaments of our society. This is an extrapolation for which I can find the historical justification, and that is the point. Unless one gives these words of the non-psychiatric meaning, it would push me to be an extreme. I would say that our society has been afflicted by a disease, a very curious, a very paradoxical disease, for which we have not found a name, and this mental disease has a very curious symptom, which is that the symptom itself brought the mental disease into being.
Mr. Chomsky, I would like to ask you one question. In your discussion, you used the term proletariat. What do you mean by proletariat in a highly developed technological society? I think this is a Marxist notion, which doesn't represent the exact sociological state of affairs.
As we come into a new interpretation fitting our present social conditions! Really! The uses to which it's put in because it's a concept of my human nature, I really think it's partially including everyone. By what I believe to the fundamental human need is to be yourself, which means to be creative, and be exploratory, to be inquisitive, to useful things, you know? If they were to do any kind of work they're doing under conditions of freedom, it would thereby become productive and satisfying. Rather than very large number of people who are involved in other kinds of work. For example, the people who are society. And now why is that will differ? Depending on society, our society includes, I think, intellectual work, because it includes a spectrum of people who found from making labels to skill work. Engineers, scientists, a large class of professionals, and many people. Very important task was that they're going to identify themselves as social managers, so we're going to be servants of each other, the state, the private power, alternatively, or they're going to identify themselves as a part of the workforce. What's going to happen in intellectual labor? If the latter, then they could just play a decent role in progressive social revolution. If the former, the part of the oppressors.
One of the values that you more or less mentioned in the necessity of decentralization of power is people on the spot should participate in decision making. That's the value of decentralization and participation, but on the other hand, we're living in a society that makes it more and more necessary to make it more and more necessary. That's the decisions are made on a worldwide scale, and in order to have, for example, a more equal distribution of welfare, etc., it might be necessary to have more centralization.
That's all the time we have for the debate tonight. Please go home and get drunk with Tube Dad. Please donate, because I have been fired from my career, and I need donations. And Michelle. Oh, and Michelle. I didn't know.